Have you ever had one of those trips where by the end of it, you can't really tell whether you had a good time or not? Where the answer is just, yes? Both? At the same time. That was Offkai this year for me. Day 0 started out bright and early, dropping off the furry little menace, Suki, at the dog hotel. She pretty much ran into the place and didn't look back to say goodbye, which honestly is pretty typical of her when it comes to her favorite place in the entire world. Afterward, we went to grab lunch at the local 85-degree bakery, and then the hour drive to our hotel. This year, we stayed at the Best Western in Lanai Garden. It was a simple little hotel with a full breakfast and decent amenities at a good price. The hotels around the convention center basically sold out entirely when they announced the dates, so we weren't able to get them. Lesson learned for next year. In any case, we checked in and then headed over to the convention. Honestly, the drive was probably the worst thing about the hotel. It was in a weird parking lot situation, and we had a little bit of a drive. Once we were at the convention, going back to the hotel to rest or nap was basically out of the question. So we were at the convention for the entire day. I don't think we'll do this sort of setup again, just because it made things more difficult than they had to be. Just a bit of context before we get into day 0. This year, the convention hall was shared with a CrossFit Expo. Everyone was polite about it, and there was no issues between the two groups. Unfortunately, the layout made things a little awkward for both events. Badge pickup was at least quick. There was maybe a 30 or so minute line, but it went by fast. However, regardless of it being day 0 or final day, my nose was assaulted by con funk. Surprisingly, only the con registration though. The rest of the convention was funk-free. It was nice that we could see the Atasha cars while we waited in line, and I was able to get a few photos including Umamusume's Tokai Teo and Ikuno Dictus. The frustrating part, and I'll bring it up again later, was the standee zoo and the arcade. Both of these had been moved out to the South Hall where Reg was and away from the main convention floor. I get that it was likely due to the fact that we were sharing the convention with CrossFit, but practically it didn't work. People just don't want to walk out to a whole separate building just to look at standees. I had previously mentioned this to Offkai on Twitter X, but hadn't received a response. Ultimately, it's detached and out of the way, and I think it seriously hurt visibility for everyone who brought a standee this year. The convention swag bag this year was sponsored by ChromaShift and was physically smaller than past year's bags from Phase Connect. I actually preferred it, and I can imagine so did folks who were flying in. It didn't feel like I was carrying around a large poster hung around my shoulders. After we grabbed our badges, we went and grabbed some burgers from one of my favorite places in San Jose, Campus Burgers. Affordable at $2 a burger and a side of fries and drink made the meal roughly around $10. If you're familiar with San Jose or the Bay Area itself, fast food is rather pricey these days. We then headed over to a VTuber mixer that I was invited to over at Mini Boss, a retro-style barcade. Played some pinball, checked out all of the art on the walls, and had a couple of drinks. I got one that was called The Ooze, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reference. Honestly, the whole menu was filled with these nerdy game references and was pretty awesome. To the organizer of that mixer, thank you so much for inviting me. The space and drinks were fantastic, and I felt incredibly immersed. After saying goodbye to folks, we headed over to the Guild House for the VTuber Con Central Nocturne Carnival mixer. The staff and security was pleasant the whole evening, and the music was phenomenal. We had Poseidon and Thor from Mythos, as well as Riki Poppet from ChromaShift, and various indies playing throughout that night. I didn't really network with other VTubers at this one, and honestly, I think I preferred it that way. It let me just be a guest for the night instead of being on as an industry person the whole time. Last year, this same event was at Pixelate at Night over at Fuse, and we loved it enough that we came back this year to the new location at Guild House. I got a couple of thin but gooey cookies, vanilla pistachio, and burnt almond, $5 for 2, and a drink called the Thunder God. It was a little pricey, but come on, Thor from Mythos was literally performing. How was I not going to get that drink? Goodie bag at the end had a metal card of Ares from Mythos in it, among other fun things. Back to the hotel after that, put on some Ranma 1/2 and actually got some rest. That was day 0, and if I'm honest, it was about as smooth as convention days get. Day 1 had other plans though. Woke up early enough to actually catch breakfast at the hotel, which turned out to be the only day that I got to. I started feeling sick for the rest of the convention not long after. Got ready in cosplay Dream Journey from Umamusume in her schoolgirl uniform. We then Ubered over to the convention and arrived at South Hall to drop off my standee. Myself and some other VTubers were escorted over to the zoo all fancy-like, and bypassed Regline as we already had our badges. I still didn't love the location, but there wasn't much I could do about it. The staff member that escorted us recognized me as Dream Journey, which was really nice. Once I had everything sorted and took a picture with my standee, the same staff came over and asked me if I was all set and showed me the exit. Before we left, he handed me an enamel pin of Ogiri Cap and Tamomo Cross, genuinely a sweet gesture. It was back to the main convention floor after that and ended up in a line for Exhibitors Hall and Artist Alley. Worth noting, this was the only day all weekend that there was a line for it at all, and even then the wait wasn't too bad. We spent around 3 hours in the hall, as it was quite large. There was so much to do and so many people to talk with. It wasn't overcrowded since they staggered entrance, but it did get a little warm, which is why I decided against a full cosplay the next day. I bought some stuff in the Artist Alley as well since last year taught me that things sell out fast. A few booths ended up restocking the next day I heard afterward. I was asked if I was Dream Journey a handful of times throughout the day, took pictures, and said hi to people who recognized me. Stopped by Zephyr Arcade and picked up a Quibbly for a great price. And Hiragi and Muri's lovely scent while I was there too. I'll show the full merch haul later in the video. It's worth mentioning here that Tomoe Amari had actually sponsored the entire Artist Alley and Exhibitors Hall this year, which makes what happened next hurt a little more than I might have otherwise. Because this is where things went from good to horrible. The whole convention had tech issues, which honestly wasn't shocking based on past years. I want to be clear here before I go any further. I don't think there's some grand conspiracy to sabotage specific talents. It's just that the tech side of running a con from the virtual side of things, routers, Wi-Fi, hardware, all of it is consistently scuffed, and it affected various panels and meet and greets at the con. Tomoe's 3D meet and greet was frankly a wreck, and none of it was her fault. We ended up waiting 3 to 4 hours to see her because of internet issues. Staff told us that the 3D portion itself wasn't the problem and was working just fine. It was the connection, and if I had to guess, based on what I overheard, it had something to do with how their routing was set up. Even so, the wait ended up being actually kind of fun, which I want to give the Umami credit for. I talked with a lot of lovely people on that line, some of whom recognized me as Etta, some fellow creators, and there was a lot of genuinely great conversations while we did all that standing around. I signed autograph books and shirts, and people were so sweet about it, some clearly excited once they realized who I was. Admittedly, the cost of all that standing and sitting on the hard floor caught up with me eventually though. My lower back got badly sore, and I started getting chest pains for the rest of the convention. From carrying heavy bags all day with no way back to the hotel, combined with standing in that line for so long, it wasn't anything serious to be clear, just genuinely painful. Eventually, I got to see Tomoe as a PNG, and I could tell she was sad and exhausted. It hurt to see, honestly. Everyone I talked to in the Amarme felt the exact same way about it. Afterward, Byaku and I went to get food at a British fusion place called The Brit. I tried the corned beef tacos and potato skins, and a speckled hen ale that was surprisingly very sweet. I'd really like to go back in the future, I think, despite the price for both of us, which was roughly $70 after tip. Then we made our way back to the convention and then the Yabai market. We waited about an hour to get in, but I'm not too sure if it actually was worth the wait. But I did enjoy what I picked up there, including a very cute and very explicit towel of Tomoe. Later, I found the safer work version of it over in the day market, which I wish I had known about so I could actually hang it up at home. And that was day one. My back and patience were both worn thin, and I basically just passed out the second we got back. The next day had a very rough late start, more than I wanted, thanks to the soreness and pain from the day before. No hotel breakfast this time either. I decided just to stay at the hotel until after my virtual meet and greet with the VTuber Research Club. Going back and forth would have been a logistical nightmare, and honestly, I felt like flaming hot trash floating on a flooded street anyway. The meet and greet itself was at noon Pacific, and it was an absolute blast, easily one of the better parts of the whole trip. We did run into some technical internet issues again, even between my hotel's fiber connection and the VTRC's end. But it didn't really take away from how much fun it actually was. I got to be in a mech robot roaming the convention while staying within the exhibitors hall to make the most of my hour. I met a few other VTubers through it too. Tipicatly was one, and I got to say hi to Church of Bread, who was in cosplay at the time. Said hello to a lot of congoers along the way, some who recognized me, and some who excitedly told me that they followed me on the spot. Took a lot of pictures with help from VTRC's Captain Brian, who was handling me for the whole thing, including shots with Wildcard Club and a few others. Genuinely, this was probably the highlight of my entire convention. I'd work with the VTRC again in a heartbeat. Thank you again, Captain Brian, for handling me through my terrible driving. After it wrapped up, I changed it to my casual Dream Journey cosplay, forgot my tail at the hotel, and headed to the convention. We found the exhibitors hall and artist alley completely line-free, which after the day before felt almost strange. So we took our time until close, actually slowing down to look at the booths properly for once. Got ramen afterward at the grand opening of the Sakura Mart here in San Jose. They had these little machines that basically cooked ramen packs for you right there. I got a chicken yuzu and Byako got a shoyu tonkatsu. The staff gave us a whole bag of freebies that I can't wait to try out later. This did remind me though, Vt Ramen was not at the convention, which was a little sad. Karaoke again after 6 that evening, and Byako got to sing a song from Good Kids. Wait was about an hour, not bad, and there was some genuinely amazing singers that night. And back to Yabai Market after that because I wanted to pick up some Umamusume dojin. This time, the line organization was noticeably better than both last year's Offkai and the previous Friday night. I was able to get a really cute Safe for Work Gold Ship and McQueen dojin since not safe for work content isn't allowed by Cygames. That was also when we found out that Tomoe's panel and meet and greet makeup had been fully cancelled. I saw online afterward that she was clearly bummed about it, and she was firm that it was not Offkai's fault. After the Yabai Market, we packed it in. Day 2, done. Day 3 ended up being short overall, which honestly, at this point in the weekend, was kind of a relief. Woke up late, still not feeling great, and checked out of the hotel, which held onto our bags for us. I have to give credit here, the staff at the Best Western Lanai in San Jose were amazing the entire stay. The woman at the front desk was so sweet, genuinely curious about the convention, and said that she wanted to tell her daughter about it since she had been to Fanime before. Honestly, the best hotel experience I've had at any convention, even with the drive involved. We found out that Kawa Entertainment had set up a new meet and greet with Tomoe at her booth, and Zentreya had decided to share her Sunday panel slot with Tomoe as well. So that was a huge relief to the situation. Sadly, I wasn't able to make the panel with the time that I had left, but I did get to go to Tomoe's live 2D meetup, and it was a lot of fun. She was incredibly sweet, and it's clear she genuinely cares about her community. The people that were in the line were kind too. We ended up chatting about Tomoe while waiting, which was a nice way to spend the time. Picked up some beautiful Tomoe merch from Kawa while I was there. Shout out to them for being so supportive of Tomoe and the Umami. Once that wrapped up, I met up with my Mane-san, Yam Albat, and we went around the exhibitors hall together talking with industry professionals. Amazing experience, and I can't thank Yam enough for that afternoon. Byako peeled off at some point to go check out the Wildcard Club panel while I was still going around with Yam. Sadly, I wasn't able to attend as I had work to do that day. Once I finished my rounds, I said goodbye to Yam and did one more refresh of my business cards across the tables, something I had been doing throughout the entire convention. Met back up with Byako, did one final pass through Artist Alley, and headed over to South Hall. Picked up my standee, checked out the arcade one more time, and got some last pictures of the Atasha and standees. And then we picked up Suki and headed home. So, overall, I did have a genuinely good time at this convention. I want to say that clearly because a lot of what follows is going to sound like complaining, and I don't want that to overshadow it. Standing in line for hours for a meet and greet though, that part I could have done without. And I want to come back to something I had brought up earlier, because I keep seeing a theory about it floating around online. I don't think what happened with Tomoe's panel was sabotage. She said herself directly that it wasn't Offkai's fault. Most of the time outside of those meet and greet lines was spent in Artist Alley and Exhibitors Hall. If I'm honest, I would have liked to spend some of that time on the stamp rally instead, which I didn't get to do this year, partly because of how much time the meet and greet ate up, and the treasure hunt also got skipped for the same reason. On the layout side of things, I did like having the Artist Alley and Exhibitors Hall together in one space this year. It gave everything more room to breathe, but sharing the convention with the CrossFit Expo wasn't the best. as the layout for both events ended up really awkward. Not everything was good though, and I had one interaction with a staff member from a booth that went from friendly to genuinely creepy in about 30 seconds. I'm not going to go into details, but it left a really bad taste. It irritated Byako too, who had to watch it happen. We left the booth very quickly afterward, feeling uncomfortable. On a much better note, the meet and greet I did was amazing, despite the internet troubles. Got to meet so many people through it, and it's still one of my favorite memories from the whole weekend. Shout out again to Captain Brian for being my handler. I got recognized as Dream Journey quite a few times, and even found my dad and brother, Stay Gold and Ofavere. We got to see friends too, which was honestly one of the best parts of the trip on its own. It was so fun to see people again. Thank you to Rico and Anake for the lovely gifts. The pre-con mixers were a blast, and I really liked that they were held on a Thursday this year. I sadly didn't get accepted for the Saturday mixer I want to go to, but given how crappy I was feeling by then, I don't think I lost much there. The Yabai market was a long wait both times, but I'm glad that I went and got some lovely merch out of it. And yeah, I was in pain for most of this convention, mostly from that one meet and greet line, but that's just going to be part of how I remember this trip. Here's a few images of all the merch and swag I got at the convention. So, overall, I generally both love this convention and I hated parts of it. Sometimes within the same hour. Really high highs and really low lows. And somehow, still worth it. I'm already looking forward to Offkai 2027. It's Sakura themed, and it'll be held April 15th through the 18th at the San Jose Convention Center. I saw some folks unhappy with the time of year, but with West Coast conventions, organizers generally have to bid on whatever dates they can actually get, and that's especially true for newer events. After all, this is only Offkai's second year at this venue. Honestly, I think the timing works better for me personally, even if it's 8 months out. I've already got my hotel sorted and I'm excited for the next con. So good time or bad time? Still yes. Still both. See you all at Offkai Gen 6!